Every tool on this list replaces something you were doing by hand, by eye, or by guesswork, and doing it worse, slower, or less consistently than the tool does it automatically. That's the only criterion for this list. 35 tools, each one doing the hard work so you don't have to. Number 1, Cricut Maker 3, Multi-Material Automated Cutting. The Cricut Maker 3 cuts over 300 materials: fabric, leather, balsa wood, foam, vinyl, cardstock, acetate, and more, using a rotating blade system that reads the material type and applies appropriate pressure automatically rather than requiring manual blade depth adjustment. The specific productivity gain over earlier Cricut models is the speed in Smart Materials mode, which cuts pre-sized material rolls without a carrier mat, halving the setup and cutting time for large volume production runs. At a retail price of $350 to $400, it's positioned as a production tool rather than a hobby device, and professional crafters who batch produce dozens of garments, vinyl products, and paper goods describe the Cricut Maker 3 specifically as the machine that allowed them to scale beyond what was manually achievable. Number 2, Silhouette Cameo 5, Advanced Vinyl and Fabric Cutting. The Silhouette Cameo 5, released in 2024, includes a built-in material sensor that detects the material loaded on the cutting mat and automatically adjusts cutting blade pressure and speed before the cut begins, removing the calibration step that earlier models required. The 15-inch cutting width, wider than the Cricut Maker 3's 12-inch, is the specific advantage for large-format vinyl applications, banner work, and wide fabric panels. The dual carriage allows 2 tools to be loaded simultaneously, a cutting blade in one carriage and a drawing pen or scoring tool in the other, enabling complex designs that require both cut and drawn elements without a manual tool swap mid-project. Number 3, Computerized Sewing and Embroidery Machine, Brother PE800. The Brother PE800 is a dedicated embroidery machine that digitizes and stitches any loaded design file automatically, placing the thread, changing between up to 6 thread colors, and stitching the complete design with no hand involvement. A design that would take 4 to 6 hours of hand embroidery stitches in 45 minutes unattended. The PE800 accommodates a 5 by 7-inch embroidery field and reads PES embroidery files, which are purchasable from thousands of independent digitizers on Etsy and other platforms. At $350 to $450, it's the entry-level machine most professional embroidery sellers cite when asked what tool changed their business capacity most immediately. Number 4, Electric Yarn Winder, Motorized Swift and Ball Winder Combo. A motorized electric yarn winder, where a motor drives the ball winder at constant speed while the Swift holds the skein open at the correct tension, converts a 400-yard skein into a center pole ball in under 2 minutes, fully unattended. Manual winding the same skein by hand takes 15 to 20 minutes of sustained effort by hand. At production volumes, dining and winding 20 to 40 skeins per week, the manual winding time compounds into hours of unproductive physical effort per week that the electric system eliminates entirely. The Namaste electric yarn winder is the most widely used independent version, though combined motorized systems are increasingly available from fiber arts equipment suppliers. Number 5, Heat Press Machine, Professional Platen Press, 15 by 15 inch. A professional 15 by 15 inch platen press applies consistent pressure across an entire platen surface simultaneously at a precise, calibrated temperature, with a digital timer that signals completion and a pressure gauge that verifies consistency across the full plate. The specific work it replaces, applying heat transfer vinyl or sublimation prints with a household iron, which requires moving the iron in sections, applying uneven pressure by hand, and guessing at timing and temperature. For any seller using heat transfer vinyl or sublimation at volume, a professional platen press eliminates the inconsistency that a household iron structurally cannot overcome, and it handles the physical effort of pressing pressure automatically, rather than requiring sustained downward force. Number 6, Laser Engraver, X-Tool D1 Pro 10-watt or 20-watt diode. A desktop laser engraver, specifically the X-Tool D1 Pro in 10 or 20-watt diode laser configurations, cuts and engraves wood, leather, acrylic, cardstock, and anodized metal through a software-driven automated process that requires no hand cutting, no blade changes, and no material clamping beyond a simple flat placement. Designs created in X-Tool's Creative Space or in Lightburn are executed with the same precision on the 100th piece as on the first, which is the specific quality consistency that hand cutting can never achieve at speed. The 20-watt version cuts 5mm plywood in a single pass rather than multiple passes, which directly reduces production time per piece and reduces the total laser wear. Number 7. Automatic thread cutter and trimmer, built-in machine setting. Most modern sewing machines include an automatic thread cutting button or pedal activation that cuts both the upper and bobbin threads simultaneously at the end of a seam, eliminating the hand scissor step that previously interrupted every seam across an entire project. This sounds minimal, 5 to 8 seconds saved per seam, but across a quilted piece with 400 seam intersections or a garment with 60 seam ends, the accumulated time saving and rhythm disruption elimination represents 30 to 60 minutes of recovered session time. Machines that include an automatic thread cutter, the Genome 6700P, the Brother PQ 1500 SL, and others, are specifically recommended by production sewers for exactly this built-in feature. Number 8. Electric wax melter with digital temperature control. An electric wax melter, specifically one with a precise digital thermostat rather than a manual dial, maintains wax at exactly the target temperature, between 160 degrees Fahrenheit and 180 degrees Fahrenheit for soy wax, depending on the fragrance load, across an entire pour session, without requiring monitoring or manual adjustment. The hard work it replaces, watching a stovetop double boiler, monitoring a probe thermometer, and constantly adjusting a burner to prevent temperature drift that affects fragrance throw, adhesion to vessel walls, and surface finish. A purpose-built electric melter with a spigot valve also allows controlled, hands-free pouring rather than loudeling, reducing both the physical effort and the spill risk of manual louddle transfer. Number 9. Automatic bobbin winder, standalone electric. A standalone electric bobbin winder, separate from the sewing machine, operating while the machine remains fully threaded and set up for sewing, winds a new bobbin in under 60 seconds without requiring the machine to be switched into bobbin winding mode, which normally requires removing the thread from the needle, threading through the bobbin winder, and rethreading the machine entirely. For production sewers who empty multiple bobbins per session, the standalone winder saves the full rethreading and setup time at each bobbin change, and it maintains sewing momentum during a session rather than breaking it with a 5-minute machine reconfiguration each time. Number 10. Electric scissors, cordless fabric cutter. Electric scissors, a cordless handheld cutting tool with small oscillating blades that cut through multiple fabric layers simultaneously with no hand pressure required, eliminate the hand and wrist fatigue that accumulates during extended fabric cutting sessions, and cut significantly faster through thick or multiple layers than standard fabric shears. The Havels and Fiskars electric fabric cutter models are the two most widely reviewed by production sewers. For anyone cutting through multiple layers of denim, fleece, felt, or quilting cotton over a sustained production session, the electric cutter reduces both physical strain and cutting time per piece measurably. Number 11. Automatic paint mixer, overhead stirrer. A laboratory-style overhead stirrer, a motorized shaft with interchangeable paddle or propeller attachments that mixes paint, resin, soap batter, or any thick liquid at a consistent, controlled speed, eliminates the physical effort of hand stirring while producing more thorough, more consistent mixing than hand stirring achieves. Material consistency is the specific benefit over hand stirring. The mechanical paddle reaches the bottom and sides of a mixing container consistently throughout the mixing cycle, preventing the unmixed pockets of pigment or hardener that hand stirring at the edge of a container regularly misses. Available for lab equipment suppliers for $60 to $120. Number 12, Rotary Quilting Ruler, Self-Propelled Laser Guide. A laser-guided measuring system for quilting where a projector mounts to the sewing machine's throat and casts a visible laser line directly on the quilt fabric ahead of the presser foot eliminates the manual process of drawing quilting design lines, chalk marking parallel lines, and using physical guides for free motion or straight line quilting. The laser line moves with the quilt as you sew, providing a continuous reference line rather than a static drawn one that can be sewn over incorrectly. Westerly Design makes widely used acrylic ruler systems that mount to the feed dog area. The laser variant is a more recent development available from quilting technology suppliers. Number 13, Pneumatic Craft Punch, Air-Powered Hole Punch. A pneumatic leather and craft punch where air pressure from a compressor drives the punch through material rather than hand squeeze pressure, cuts consistent, perfectly circular holes through leather, thick canvas, rubber, and multiple material layers with zero hand fatigue and zero punch variation from operator pressure. Available from leather crafting suppliers for $80 to $150 for an entry-level air punch setup. For leather workers producing belts, straps, and bags where 50 to 100 holes per production session are normal, the elimination of the grip fatigue that accumulates through repeated squeeze punching measurably extends productive session length. Number 14, Electric Label Maker and Applicator, Combined Unit. A combined label printing and rolling applicator unit where printed labels exit the printer and pass directly through a roller mechanism that applies them to round, flat, or curved surfaces in a single pass eliminates both the printing and the manual application steps from the labeling workflow. For candle makers, soap makers, and bath and body product sellers labeling dozens to hundreds of units per batch, the combined print and apply system reduces the per label time from 20 to 30 seconds of manual peel and position to under 5 seconds per unit, which across a 100-unit candle batch saves over 25 minutes of tedious, repetitive handling. Number 15, Digital Embossing and Cutting System, Sizzix Big Shot Pro. A wide-format, manually operated die-cutting machine with a 13-inch cutting width and a crank mechanism that distributes cutting force evenly across the full plate, cuts through up to 24 layers of fabric or 10 layers of felt simultaneously in a single crank pass. The productivity implication is significant. A fabric charm pack of 24 identical squares that would take 15 minutes to cut individually cuts in under a minute. The wide format also accommodates large dies, full-size hat panels, bag bottoms, and large format foliage shapes that narrower machines cannot fit, removing the resizing or multiple pass workaround those machines require. Number 16, Automatic Soap Cutter, Multi-Wire Loaf Cutter. A multi-wire soap cutter where a comb of parallel wires is pressed through a soap loaf in a single, even push, cutting the entire loaf into uniform bars simultaneously, replaces the individual cut method of drawing a knife through the loaf bar by bar, which produces bars of variable thickness depending on how consistently pressure and angle are maintained. Material cost is $30 to $60 for an entry-level wooden multi-wire loaf cutter from soap making suppliers. For cold-processed soap makers producing loaves of 10 to 12 bars per batch, the multi-wire cutter produces perfectly uniform bars from every loaf every time, which affects both the professional appearance of the finished bars and the accuracy of per-bar material cost calculations. Number 17, Automatic Bead Stringer, Vacuum Needle Stringer. A vacuum-powered beading threading tool where suction is applied to the end of a beading needle, drawing seed beads onto the needle automatically rather than picking them up individually by hand, is the production tool that allows bead workers to thread hundreds of beads in the time it would take to pick up a few dozen by hand. The electric bead spinner uses a different mechanism, spinning beads onto a curved needle in a bowl, while the vacuum stringer specifically works by drawing beads from a flat surface directly onto a straight beading needle. Available from bead craft suppliers, these tools are specifically used for production volume seed bead stringing projects. Number 18, Electric Soap Planer, soft surface finishing. An electric soap planer, a small motorized surface planer specifically designed for the width and hardness of cold processed soap loaves, removes the top surface layer of cured soap, which sometimes develops ash or rough texturing during the cure period, to reveal the clean, smooth, and freshly exposed soap surface beneath in a single pass, rather than the hand scraping and beveling that achieves the same result manually. Available from specialty soap-making equipment suppliers for $60 to $120. Soap planers specifically matter for makers whose products are sold on appearance. The clean, beveled surface of a plain soap bar at a craft fair or in a product photograph reads significantly more professional than a textured, unfinished top. Number 19. Motorized resin bubble eliminator, ultrasonic degassing chamber. A small container that uses ultrasonic vibration rather than vacuum to drive air bubbles from freshly mixed resin before the resin is poured, producing clearer, more uniform finished pieces than the heat gun and butane torch bubble removal methods can achieve after pouring. Unlike a vacuum chamber, which requires a vacuum pump and chamber setup, ultrasonic degassing is a benchtop unit that operates in under 5 minutes and requires no compressed air or pump equipment. Available from professional resin casting suppliers for $80 to $150. The difference in clarity between degassed and non-degassed large resin pours is particularly visible in river tables and large panel work. Number 20. Automatic polymer clay extruder, motor attachment for a standard Atlas 150 pasta machine. A motor attachment for a standard Atlas 150 pasta machine, converting the manual crank conditioning machine into a motor-driven system that feeds and conditions polymer clay at a constant speed without hand cranking, is the specific upgrade that eliminates the wrist fatigue and inconsistent feed rate of manual pasta machine conditioning during high-volume clay production sessions. The Atlas motor attachment fits the standard Atlas 150 machine and runs on a standard wall outlet. For clay artists conditioning 20 to 30 blocks of clay per session, the motorized version eliminates the primary physical fatigue point of a high-volume clay production day without requiring a separate dedicated machine. Number 21. Electronic knitting machine, Silver Reed SK280. The Silver Reed SK280 electronic knitting machine, a punch card and electronic row-programmed flatbed machine, knits a full-width row of stitches in a single carriage pass rather than individual hand movements, producing knitted fabric at 10 to 15 times the speed of hand knitting. A simple knitted panel that takes a hand knitter 4 to 6 hours produces in 20 to 30 minutes on the SK280. The machine handles gauge consistency automatically through the needle bed's physical structure rather than depending on the operator's hand tension, which eliminates the gauge variation that affects hand-knitted garment sizing. Knitting machines also allow specific stitch patterns, Fair Isle color work, tuck stitch, slip stitch, to be programmed and executed consistently row after row. Number 22. Automatic candle filling machine, semi-professional tabletop. A semi-professional candle filling machine, a heated tank that maintains wax at pour temperature with a foot pedal controlled dispensing nozzle that releases a measured, consistent volume of wax into each vessel in a single pass, eliminates both the heating and the pouring step of manual candle production, where wax is maintained in a pot and ladled or poured by hand into each vessel individually. Available from candle supply manufacturers for $300 to $600 in the entry-level tabletop category. For candle makers producing 100 or more units per session, the fill consistency and pour speed improvement over manual production reduces session time meaningfully and eliminates the overpour and underpour waste that manual ladling routinely produces. Number 23. Automatic label rewinder for roll label handling. A motorized label rewinder, a standalone device that takes a dispensed label roll and rewinds it at consistent controlled tension onto a receiving core, eliminates the tangled and inconsistently tensioned roll that accumulates during manual label application from a static roll holder. For sellers applying roll labels with a manual applicator or a label printer, an automatic rewinder on the take-up side keeps the label roll taut and untangled throughout an application session, preventing the label jams and misfeeds that a slack or tangled roll produces. May and AccuPlace make entry-level automatic rewinders in the $50 to $100 range, suitable for small batch label production. Number 24, laser-guided miter saw for craft wood cutting. A compact laser-guided miter saw, a circular blade on a pivoting arm that cuts through wood, MDF, and balsa at precise angles guided by a laser line projected onto the cutting surface, produces perfectly repeatable cuts at exact angle specifications without hand measurement between cuts, replacing the mark and cut workflow of a handsaw or standard table saw for angle work. The specific craft applications where a laser miter saw replaces tedious handwork are cutting picture frame miters, cutting angled wood signs, cutting consistent slat widths for wooden wall art, and producing box corner joints. Compact versions suitable for a small studio workspace start at $120 to $200 from power tool manufacturers. Number 25, electric paper folder, tabletop scoring and folding machine. A tabletop electric paper folder, a machine that feeds cardstock through scoring wheels and folding plates at consistent speed, producing a scored and folded piece in a single pass, replaces the two-step process of scoring with a bone folder and ruler, then folding by hand. For stationery sellers, invitation makers, and packaging producers who fold hundreds of pieces per session, the electric folder produces perfectly consistent fold lines at a rate of 20 to 30 pieces per minute, a speed that manual bone folder work simply cannot approach. The MBM EasyFold and the Formax FD1502 are widely used entry-level electric tabletop folders in the craft circuit. Number 26, automatic thread tension regulation, machine feature. The automatic thread tension regulation system built into higher-end sewing machines, the Bernina 790 Plus and the John O'May Skyline series both include this, senses the threads pull through a tension sensor and automatically adjusts both upper and lower thread tension in real time as the fabric and stitch type change during a session. This manual tension dial adjustment that previously required the operator to stop sewing, check the back of the seam, and manually dial up or down between fabric types or between straight and zigzag stitches. For makers who switch between fabric weights or stitch types frequently within a single project, automatic tension regulation eliminates the most common source of poor stitch formation. Number 27, ultrasonic jewelry cleaner, finished piece preparation. An ultrasonic jewelry cleaner, a small tank of water with a small amount of dish soap that uses ultrasonic waves to generate microscopic cavitation bubbles that lift dirt, oils, and flux residue from the surfaces of finished metal jewelry, cleans a finished piece in 3 to 5 minutes without any scrubbing, brushing, or chemical polishing compound. The cavitation reaches recessed areas, stone settings, chain links, and wire wrapping details that a brush physically cannot access, producing uniformly clean pieces across complex constructions that would take 10 to 15 minutes per piece to clean manually. Entry-level ultrasonic cleaners from iSonic and Magnasonic cost $30 to $60 and are standard finishing equipment in professional jewelry production. Number 28, automated pottery trimming tool, electric wheel sensor. A pottery trimming aid, a laser-guided centering and depth sensor that attaches to an electric pottery wheel and indicates when a thrown piece is centered, at what depth the trimming tool has reached, and when the wall thickness has reached a target minimum, replaces the tactile guesswork of hand trimming that requires years of practice to perform consistently. Available from specialty ceramic suppliers and pottery equipment manufacturers. For a beginner or intermediate potter whose trimming is currently too thin, causing collapse, or too thick, leaving unnecessary weight, the sensor feedback converts what is otherwise a purely experiential skill into a measurable, guided process. Number 29, digital knitting pattern grading software. Software like Wincone and Design-A-Knit that automatically calculates stitch counts, shaping rates, and row counts for all sizes of a garment from a single base size input according to the specific gauge of the yarn being used, replaces the manual math that pattern grading requires, where every stitch count and row count must be individually recalculated for each size. A basic 4-size knitting pattern pattern graded manually takes an experienced designer 3 to 4 hours of calculation. The same grading completed in pattern grading software takes under 30 minutes with significantly reduced calculation error risk. Number 30, automated soap beveling tool, multi-edge cutter. A soap beveling tool, a small jig with angled blades positioned to cut all 4 edges of a soap bar simultaneously in a single press, replaces the 4 individual knife passes that hand beveling requires, where each edge is cut separately at a consistent angle. The beveled edge of a finished soap bar removes the sharp corner that forms during the loaf cutting process, producing a more polished appearance and a more comfortable bar for the end user. A 4-sided beveling jig costs $20 to $40 from soap making suppliers and reduces the beveling time per bar from 40 seconds of individual hand cutting to under 10 seconds of single press operation. Number 31. Laser level projector for wall art display and installation. A cross-line laser level, mounted on a magnetic wall bracket or a small tripod, projects a perfectly level horizontal line and a perfectly plumb vertical line simultaneously across an entire wall, allowing the installation of a full gallery wall or large hanging piece without a tape measure, a pencil, or a second person to hold things in place. For craft sellers who offer installation services, who hang their own work at markets and galleries, or who produce wall-mounted products and photograph them in situ, a cross-line laser level saves the repeated measurement and mark workflow that manual level and measure requires for every individual hanging point across a complex arrangement. Number 33. Automated resin pigment dispenser, syringe pump system. A programmable syringe pump, where a stepper motor drives a syringe plunger at a controlled rate to dispense precise volumes of resin pigment into a mixing cup, replaces the freehand dropper or pipette method of adding resin colorant, which introduces volume variation from batch to batch. In resin work, where a specific color match must be reproduced across multiple pours, a custom color for a specific client, or a signature colorway for a product line, a syringe pump dispenses the same volume of each pigment every time, producing consistent color across batches that hand dropper measurement cannot reliably replicate. Number 34. Electric die cutter with automatic feed, AccuCut Grand Mark II. A large format die cutting machine with a motorized automatic feed rather than a hand crank processes die cuts continuously at a set speed without requiring operator effort per crank, allowing a single maker to produce large volumes of cut shapes unattended during other productive activities. A standard hand crank die cutter requires dedicated operator attention and physical effort for every single cut pass. The motorized version runs a cutting job at a consistent speed, allowing the operator to load one end while collecting finished cuts from the other. Available from large format die cutting suppliers, this machine is standard equipment in high-volume paper craft and fabric cutting operations. Number 35. Automated label dispenser for small product labeling. A motorized label dispenser, a small tabletop machine that automatically peels and advances each label from the roll as a sensor detects the removal of the previous one, presenting each label at the correct position for hand pickup and application, eliminates the manual peel and separate step from the labeling workflow, where labels from a roll must be individually separated from the backing paper by hand. For sellers applying hundreds of labels per batch to jars, tins, or bottles, the automatic advancement of each pre-separated label reduces per label application time from 8 to 12 seconds of manual peel and position to under 4 seconds of pick and place, roughly halving the total time for any large labeling run. Number 36. AI-powered pattern grading tool, cloud-based sewing software. Cloud-based pattern grading software with AI assistance, platforms like Optitex and Browseware that are specifically built for apparel pattern grading, takes a base size sewing pattern and automatically grades it to a full size range, XS through 3XL, or custom size points, while maintaining the pattern's design lines, grain lines, and ease relationships correctly across all sizes. Manual pattern grading by a professional costs $50 to $150 per pattern per size run and takes several hours even for experienced graders. For independent sewing pattern designers who sell patterns on Etsy, Payhip, or their own websites, AI-assisted grading software reduces the cost and time of size expansion from a major investment to a manageable in-house task that allows more patterns to be released at more sizes more frequently.